Mercer Associates in a meeting notice dated January 9th,
Flags over
2023. Furthermore, on that date,
Over
a
there.
copy of such notice was sent to the Times, the Trentonian, and the clerk of the Township of Hamilton. It was also posted on the bulletin board at the entrance to the boardroom in the Hamilton Square Administrative Building. Please rise for the flag salute.
Flag is over there. Pledge allegiance.
United
States of America.
And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Byrne?
Here. Here. Is this on? Here.
Mr. Salantano?
Here.
Dr. Farrar?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Ms. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Kanka?
Here.
Dr. McSheen?
Here.
Ms. Thornton?
Here.
Ms. Lombardo?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Motion to enter into exec.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Whereas NJSA 10:4-13 requires adoption of the board to go into executive session. Be it resolved that the board pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, New Jersey Title 18A, and the Hamilton Township Board of Education Bylaw number 0166, hereby enter executive session to discuss a matter involving student matters, human resource matters, and matters falling under the attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved that the minutes of this executive session shall be made public following formal action by the board and/or at the conclusion of any investigations, due process proceeding, or litigation, so long as not prohibited by law and so long as the need for maintaining confidentiality no longer exists.
Okay.
Hard to hear you.
First up, we have the superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone.
Let me
I
hear
have
what they
I have a
say
number of
now.
items tonight that I want to go over. Let me just change this here
I would,
easier.
I would let her know.
and get my glasses. Tonight, I have to start with another loss in our community. Brandon Gonzalez was a Steiner grad from the class of 2021 who fought valiantly against cancer. He was an inspiration to so many for how he fought against cancer and how he lived his life in spite of having cancer. Brandon went on to graduate from our high school and attend Villanova, where he was a sophomore. Please join me in a moment of silence for Brandon. Thank you. A couple other items that I have here tonight. Our Nottingham STEP team honored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. during Mercer County Community College's Day of Service event. Congratulations to them. I'd like to also congratulate Dr. Rashawn Monroe, principal of Clockner Elementary School, on receiving the Spirit of the Community Service Award at the 20th Annual Hamilton Township Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Tribute. A number of us were in attendance at the tribute to support Dr. Monroe as he received his award, and to see Addison Corby and Braden Nitty, both Steinert seniors, receive the 9th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Service Scholarship Award. I'd also like to thank the Steinert Jazz Band for playing at the tribute, and for Cassandra Sanchez, who was a former Service Award Scholarship recipient and has now returned to our school district as a Layler teacher who sang a beautiful musical selection. Steinert's Future Educators Student Association took part in a conference at TCNJ. Our district continues to identify future teachers and provide our students with experiences that will help them be successful in college. And hopefully these students, when they complete their work in college, look to return to our district as educators in our classrooms. I'd like to congratulate Kara Floodman, our HTSD Instructional Technology Coordinator, for being selected as an NJASCD Emerging Leader. Lunar New Year begins this Sunday. This year is the year of the rabbit. Wishing everyone well and a wonderful new year who celebrate. Kindergarten registration opens on January 23rd. Please look for information on our website and social media feeds. If you have a child who's entering kindergarten, or you have a friend or a neighbor who has a kindergarten age child, please ask them to sign up as soon as possible. It's important for us to get our registration numbers started early so we can begin the process. On the next issue besides kindergarten registration is summer camp. Yes, we are talking about summer camp already. We will start registration on February 1st. Our summer camp has been successful the last couple of years that we've run it, and we look forward to the next summer. A reminder to our community that our CPAG, which is Special Education Parent Advisory Group, will have its next meeting on January 31st at 6 p.m. at Crockett Middle School Library. Due to a scheduling conflict, our District Strategic Planning Committee meeting has been moved to February. The work of this committee is vital to the future success of our district. Participants have always been welcome to join us when they can attend. I thank those who have come month after month to work together for the future of our district. On that note, I know that we have some parents out of West swim team who are concerned about the pool being closed at this point. I would highly recommend and ask that you please participate in the facility strategic plan. That plan is about our facilities, including the pools at all 3 of our schools. So please come, even if you come to one meeting and say your piece so it's on record, so we understand what people's perspectives are. I've mentioned this item several times in my reports over the last couple of months, but each month I meet with groups of principals who are focused on 3 goals: attendance, behavioral, and academic goals. Our principals and their faculty and staff are focused on these areas to address the needs of our students post-pandemic. There are many changes our students face in these 3 areas, and the efforts to bring us back will take time. But I can say that every school and every faculty and staff member and every administrator in this district is committed to the work and will take several years to get done. We should not be surprised by the fact that there is work to be done in these areas. But what we should be doing is working together to address these areas. HTSD is doing so and will continue to do so into the future. Today, our first set of HTSD difference makers were recognized. HTSD faculty, staff, and administrators can nominate a colleague for extraordinary effort and for modeling our HOPE, Hamilton Opens Pathways to Excellence motto. Those first recognized include a teacher, a culture and climate specialist, a custodian, and an occupational therapist. Those nominating an individual also write why they have nominated the person, and the comments are inspiring. The recipient receives the comments, but the person nominating them remains anonymous. Our program of studies for 23-24 school year for the high school is ready to go. We are going to be sending those out to our students and families. We're proud of our course offerings and encourage all of our members of our community, even if you have a child who is not in high school yet, to examine the high school offerings, the pathways that are available to your children. Information will be placed on our website and sent out via school messenger. And I just want to focus on that for a minute. I want to thank Mr. Scotto. I want to thank Ms. Frolato, who's done this work, the guidance counselors, the principals, everybody that's been involved. The course of study for the high schools sets up the courses your children will take for the 4 years that they're here. But if you have a middle schooler or even an elementary school child, look at this document. This document will help you set the course for your child when they get to high school. In a few moments, after some comments from students and the board, we will go over our HP health and phys ed standards. Mr. Scott will present an overview of the 2020 comprehensive health and PE standards. The content of this presentation reflects numerous committee meetings, 16 to be exact, where the Board of Ed has reviewed and discussed the standards. No action is taking place this evening. Rather, We are informing the community of what standards will be included in the development of a comprehensive curriculum guide. Some other exciting news here with the Seal of Biliteracy. This week, our district has been administering the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy. This year, we are testing 304 students in 19 different languages. This is just another opportunity to celebrate the diversity and unique talents of our HTSD community. I also ask the community to mark your calendars. Tech Night is scheduled for May 16th at Crockett. It's a wonderful event for our whole community, and it showcases the many ways we're using technology in our schools, and it provides our students and families with the opportunity to see some of the businesses that are looking for tech-savvy employees. And if tech is not your thing, we also have food trucks. This just came in at the very end of the day, and I added it towards the end. I want to congratulate Mr. Bill Ferruto, our Crockett STEM teacher, who has been recognized as the 2023 STEM Teacher of the Year by the Professional Engineer Society of Mercer County. He was just notified. There's two more items. I know I've had a lot tonight. January is also Board Recognition Month in New Jersey. I'd like to take a moment to thank our board members for volunteering to be board members and for committing to the hours of the meeting, of all the meetings that we have and all the work that we do each month. At each of your seats is a certificate recognizing your efforts. And I want to personally thank all 9 of you for the work that you do for our school community. Finally, on Monday, we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King stated that intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. This quote was true when he spoke it, and it is true today. Our goal for the people sitting at this table, the people at those tables, and the people that are sitting in this room and watching on video, and the people who have children in our community, and those that do not have children in our community, is for our school and our community to work together so that when our students finish school in Hamilton, they have intelligence plus character. All that a child needs to learn and all that students need to be supported or reinforced is not done solely in the classroom. It's also not done on the, it's also done on the ball field, the stage, in extracurricular activities. It's done in competitions and events. It's done in the schools, in the community, and in our homes. We can all work together to provide our students with intelligence plus character. And if we find a way to do this together, not only with our students' will our students' futures be bright, but so will the futures as our futures as a community and as individuals. We can have differences, we can disagree, but we cannot waver from the goal of providing our students with intelligence plus character. As we start a new calendar year, let's refocus on working together as a community for all of our students and for all of our success. Thank you.
Thank you. So just real quick, do you guys want to turn your table like in front of the pillar? Is that easier?
We can't hear you.
I'm talking senior staff. Did you want to turn your table in front of the pillar? Would that be easier for you to hear over there? Like sideways facing us?
We can't hear.
Huh? That's why I'm saying, do you want to move your table to face us in front of the pillar? Because if nobody can hear us, it's going to be hard all night. Okay. Katie and Dr. Copeland, can you hear us? I don't know what we're going to do.
I
with you
can't
guys.
hear you.
They can't
I know.
shut it off. Mr. Agaza said they can't.
Yeah, it's just over there.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully we'll get it turned off. Okay. Huh? Okay, next we'll have our student reps. We'll start with Tori from Nottingham High School.
Hi, some of the things that have been happening at Nottingham since our last meeting. We closed out the 2022 year with our annual winter pep rally on December 23rd. Our Spirit Queen was Sarah Formica and our Spirit King was Evan Vistoso. There was a teacher versus student volleyball game, half court shot competition, Decorating door competition winners were announced, and a teacher-student dance. Over winter break, our boys basketball team became champions of the Pittman Classic Holiday Tournament, so congrats to them. Our Key Club volunteered at the Martin Luther King Day of Service at the West Windsor Arts Council, collecting donations and writing cards to patients and senior citizens on this past Monday. And as Dr. Rocco said, our STEP team and alumni performed at Mercer County Communities College Martin Luther King Day of Service. Congrats to senior Aiden Cuddy, who received an honorable mention award at the Soccer Coaches Association of New Jersey banquet. Also, congratulations to senior Ronnie McNulty on his selection to the Super 100 All-State football team. Spring sports signups have been posted in the cafeteria. The QR codes can also be found on the grade level Google Classrooms. And February 27th will be the last day to turn in physical forms and HHQ forms to the nurse. Boys basketball won at Medford Tech this past Saturday, 73-69. Also, they won against Notre Dame last night, 75-67 at home. Girls and boys basketball play Lawrence on Friday, January 20th. Girls at home at 6:30 and boys at Lawrence at 7:30. The wrestling team also beat Burlington City and West Windsor Plainsboro South. There is a swim meet at Trenton at 4 tomorrow, January 19th. Lastly, on February 10th, 2023, there will be a freshman-sophomore dance that will be held in our gym with catering in the cafeteria. Tickets will be on sale this week. A guest is allowed to come, and every student must fill out a student contract. Thank you.
Thank you. And for anybody who's never seen the STEP team here, you should make it your business to go see them and I think the college actually posted that dance because I saw it today. So they're really good. I think they're at every basketball game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next we have Aaron from Steiner.
Hello, everyone. I will be representing Steiner today. I was a bit late, but last month our seniors went on their Key Largo trip to Florida for the week. We have our winter dance coming up on February 10th. Auditions for the talent show and musical will be during this month. I'd be lying if I said I knew the name of the musical. I do not, but it is Dr. Seuss themed. We have a dine out for after prom and PTSA. It's like a fundraiser to support our prom from Moe's and Honeygrow. We have a clothing drive from the girls basketball team on January 21st. Dr. Martin Luther King Wrestling Tournament was on January 16th. We do have a community service opportunity for National Honor Society students for the Morgan Elementary. That is the reading workshop for parents for kindergarten and first graders. We will be taking all of the other siblings and putting them in a separate room, so it's like quality time with your kids. We have a winter sports senior night, and the track championships will be taking place tomorrow, I believe, at Princeton. We have a tutoring program just started, so if your kid does need tutoring for any subject, it will be held in the library every single day after fourth period lunch. And I do want to congratulate Braden Nitty and I forgot the other name. So sorry. Who is it? I have class with both of them, but I had no idea that they won the MLK award. So congratulations to them. And yeah, I think that's all for tonight.
Thank you. Now we have Zaria from Hamilton West.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone had an amazing holiday season. Some upcoming things happening at West is the Winter Instrumental Concert on Wednesday, January 25th at 7 p.m. Our basketball season has officially started. We would love for everyone to come out and watch West play against Ewing. Our musical is currently underway and final show dates have been set for March 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to have our presentation of the 2020 Comprehensive Health and PE Standards. Board members, if you want to go behind the.
I would also like to point out to the Board of Education, a copy of this presentation is in the board library for you. Again, for the board, a copy of this presentation is in the board library for you, which is identical to what is on the screen. And it's in the section where you folks have been accessing all of your information for the last few weeks. Okay, thanks. Good evening. My name is Anthony Scotto. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the district. And this evening, I will be presenting an overview of the 2020 Comprehensive Health PE Standards. The purpose of this evening's presentation is to inform the community of the standards, to recognize and inform members of the public that there has been stakeholder input through this process, to show the community some revisions that we have made to the 2020 standards, and to highlight some next steps that will take place for curriculum development and implementation. As our superintendent of schools, Dr. Rocco mentioned, no action is taking place this evening. This is not a curriculum guide for adoption. And the purpose of this presentation is for informational purposes only. The last time that New Jersey adopted standards was in 2014. Currently, the district is implementing and aligning instruction to the 2014 standards, not the 2020. We have decided to take our time. We have decided to unpack these standards. We have decided to reflect on comments that we've heard formally and informally from the community and done our homework. Currently, we are using board-approved curriculum and resources to implement these 2014 standards. Instructional staff, particularly those in these content areas, have been given directives as to what standards to align to and not to. There have been many meetings with the Board of Education committees. I have personally met with all of the administrators, district, and building leadership. And if you have not already noticed, we've strengthened the opt-out implementation process for our district. We wanted to make the community further aware of their opportunity to opt out if they so chose to do that. We've created forms in Power School, our online student management system. We've created paper forms for families that prefer not to use technology or tech-enhanced forms. We've sent mailers home to families explaining, and we've created an enhanced website which talks about grade level documents. Again, all aligned to the 2014. I live curriculum and instruction all day long by nature of my position, but not everyone gets that opportunity. So we also wanted to give the community some general information about standards implementation. CUSAC is our monitoring process that our state has us go through. And whether we like it or not, as a public school, we are required to go through monitoring every 3 years. Our last two monitoring processes have been very successful, where the district has passed and done quite well. Prior to that, the district was not hitting key indicators and was placed on various corrective action plans to improve, as outlined by the Department of Education. The standards that people have been talking about, the standards that people have been discussing, the questions that people have been asking are not written by this Board of Education. They are not written by this administrative team. Rather, they are written by the State Board of Education and developed and then adopted. It is after the State Board of Education adopts these standards that they are then given to districts for curriculum development and implementation. In this district, it would also be, as with any public school district, the curriculum development would be reviewed, sent to the board for review, and hopefully approved. Compliance is not a fun thing, but it is required in the state of New Jersey. Our acting commissioner of education sent out some clarification last spring, because not just this community, but many communities across the state were asking questions and needing clarification, and rightfully so, because these were things that their children or community members would be learning. I'd like to read this excerpt because this has been sort of a guiding piece for us as we've done this work behind the scenes in committee. It is, quote, "It is important to note that the examples in parentheses of the performance expectations are not required concepts that must be taught in classes. These are merely examples, and school district curricula does not need to include these specific words or concepts in order to meet the core ideas or performance expectations of these standards." We have come back to that excerpt and looked at that many times in committee as an administrative team and Board of Education to say that while we may have not received a tremendous amount of guidance from the State Board of Ed or State Department of Education, we will use this document that we did receive to help us make some decisions. Think of three main sections of our health and comprehensive health and physical education standards. In the first column, it represents standard 2.1, and that is where many people have been asking questions. That is where this Board of Education and past Board of Ed members have done extensive research and conversations together with the senior leadership team. That is called standard 2.1, and it focuses on personal and mental health. The second section of the standards is on physical wellness. And the third section of the standards focuses on safety. Within those three main areas, there are what's called disciplinary concepts. 2.1 has 5 main themes, which I will review with you this evening. Standard 2.2 has 4 main themes, also known as disciplinary concepts, as well as 2.3. It's important to know that within the first third or the first section of those standards, the ones that we will present this evening, there are 112 performance expectations. The best way to describe that would be the what, not the how, but the what. Within those 112 performance expectations, we have made adjustments and had further discussion on 5 of them. And you will see them noted in red in the following slides, as well as with some strike-throughs. New Jersey is famous for changing things all the time. Sometimes we have grade level standards. Sometimes we have grade span standards. It changes all the time. So what you see on the screen is terminology that we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of. So if you were to see by the end of grade 2, that's grades K1 and 2. By the end of grade 5, that's grades 3, 4, and 5. So that's upper elementary and lower elementary, sometimes called intermediate and primary. By the end of grade 8, that's middle school in our district, grades 6, 7, and 8. And then by the end of grade 12, that's high school in Hamilton Township, grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. You will see these grade spans at the top of the slides that I show, so I just wanted to unpack that for you. I would be remiss if I did not thank the Board of Education, past and present, for the 16 meetings that they have had with me and other members of the senior leadership team to discuss these standards. This Board of Education has taken this information that you folks have shared or asked questions about seriously. And what you see on the screen are the actual meeting dates that the Personnel Committee, the Finance and Facilities Committee, and the Curriculum and Instruction Committee met to review these standards. Okay, so the first set of standards that you see on the slide fall under what's called personal growth and development. This is a section of the standards where students learn that individuals enjoy different activities and grow at different rates. That personal hygiene and self-help skills promote healthy habits. We have decided that the clause, including the genitals, will not be taught by the end of grade 2. Just bear with me because I have papers and I'm also clicking the remote. That's why you see this quick pause here. The next section is called Pregnancy and Parenting, focusing on that all living things may have the capacity to reproduce. Many factors influence how we think about ourselves and others. And there are different ways that individuals handle stress, and some are healthier than others. In the next section, social and sexual health, these performance expectations, these indicators focus on every individual has unique skills and qualities, which can include the activities they enjoy, such as how they dress, their mannerisms, and things they like to do. Families shape the way we think about our bodies, our health, and our behaviors. People have relationships with others in the local community and beyond. And communication is the basis for strengthening relationships and resolving conflict between people. The last section for by the end of grade 2 is called Community Health and Services Support. This area focuses on people in the community work to keep us safe. Individuals face a variety of situations that may result in different types of feelings, and learning how to talk about their feelings is important. So that concludes section 2.1 by the end of grade 2. The next band that I will be talking about is by the end of grade 5. What the public will see is some of the headings will be the same because, as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, there are 5 main categories within the 2.1 standards. Personal growth and development. This area focuses on health is influenced by the interaction of body systems, and that puberty is a time of physical, social, and emotional changes. We have decided to remove romantic and sexual feelings and masturbation from this portion of the standards. Mood swings and the timing of pubertal onset will remain. Pregnancy and parenting. This area focuses on pregnancy can be achieved through a variety of methods. Social and sexual health. Actually, I just want to go back here. I skipped one part there. Oh, I did hit that slide. I'm sorry. This area of social and sexual health by the end of grade 5 focuses on that all individuals should feel welcome and included regardless of their gender expression, or sexual orientation. That family members impact the development of their children physically, socially, and emotionally. People in healthy relationships share thoughts and feelings, as well as mutual respect. In social and sexual health by the end of grade 5, this section talks that community professionals and school personnel are available to assist and address in health emergencies, as well as provide reliable information. That individuals will benefit from an awareness of coping strategies that can be used when facing difficult situations. personal growth and development by the end of grade 8. This section talks about individual actions, genetics, and family history can play a role in an individual's personal health, and that responsible actions regarding behavior can impact the development and health of oneself and of others. Pregnancy and parenting by the end of grade 8. This section of the standards talks about an awareness of the stages of pregnancy, and prenatal care can contribute to a healthy pregnancy and the birth of a healthy child. There are a variety of factors that can affect the social, emotional, and financial challenges that are associated with parenthood. Emotional health. This section of the standards talks about self-management skills, impact an individual's ability to cope with the different types of mental, psychological, and emotional situations. Social and sexual health. In this section, the part of the standards talk about inclusive schools and communities are accepting of all people and make them feel welcome and included. Relationships are influenced by a wide variety of factors, individuals, and behaviors. And there are factors that contribute to making healthy decisions about sex. We have decided to strike out from the standards defining vaginal, oral, and anal sex, and the clause that certain contraceptive approaches and safe sex methods are effective. Community health services and support. In this section, we talk about the potential solutions to health issues are dependent on health literacy and locating resources that are accessible in a community. The advocacy for personal, family, community, and global health can influence and change the interaction of people and their health. That different people have different capabilities to deal with different situations, and being aware of a wide variety of tools and resources is beneficial. By the end of grade 12, personal growth and development. In this section of the standards, we talk about the decisions one makes can influence an individual's growth and development in all dimensions of wellness. Pregnancy and parenting. In this area, we talk about there are a variety of strategies that individuals can use to prevent pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. We have decided to remove from the standards the terms abstinence, condoms, emergency contraception, and dental dams. Emotional health. In this section of the standards, we talk about there are many decisions to be made related to pregnancy and childbirth that will have short-term and long-term impacts. We also talk about self-confidence, personal traits, stress limitations, and strengths impact the mental and emotional development of an individual. The standards also talk about healthy individuals demonstrate the ability to prevent and resolve interpersonal conflicts in constructive ways. Social and sexual health by the end of grade 12. In this portion of the standards, It talks about how individuals feel about themselves, their identity, and sexual orientation can be positively or negatively impacted by a wide variety of factors. Healthy individuals establish and maintain healthy relationships by utilizing positive communication and social skills to interact effectively and with others. There are many factors that influence how we feel about ourselves and the decisions that we make. And last, there are state and federal laws which provide access to sexual health care services for minors and to provide minors from unhealthy sexual situations. Community health services and support by the end of grade 12. Healthy individuals demonstrate the ability to identify who, when, where, and or how to seek help for self or others. The standards also talk about affordability and accessibility of healthcare impacts the prevention, early detection, and treatment of health conditions. That local, state, and global advocacy organizations provide accurate and reliable resources and strategies designed to address common health and social issues. And that knowledge of and access to resources is beneficial in providing support to individuals and families dealing with difficult situations. What are our next steps? Well, as we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we're not voting on anything this evening. A curriculum guide has not even been started. Our next steps will be to maintain the best practice that this district has always done in the area of curriculum design and implementation. We will convene a curriculum committee made up of certified teachers of comprehensive health and PE, as well as the administration. This administration will review that draft of that curricular document, present it to the Board of Education with the in hopes to adopt. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we're going to move to our board committee reports. We'll start with the curriculum report.
Oh, the noise stopped. I was just getting ready to yell into the mic. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Rocco took a lot of my report, so that's good. I now have a shortened report. The Curriculum and Instruction Committee met on Thursday, January 12th, because Dr. McSheen and I wanted to attend the MLK event. The committee now consists of Dr. McSheen, Mrs. Byrne, and myself. We spent a good amount of time discussing the presentation that you just all saw. All the committees had the opportunity to preview the draft of the presentation that was just given, and I attended all three committee meetings to make sure that I understood what everybody was thinking. And as Dr. Rocco said, we are not voting on anything tonight. These are just standards that come from the New Jersey Department of Education, approved by the State Board of Education, and a memo that the New Jersey Department of Education sent out in April of 2022 said the standards were designed to address the needs of each student to gain knowledge and skills in caring for themselves, interacting effectively, respectfully, and safely with others, and analyzing the impact of health choices. As Dr. Rocco also mentioned, the 23-24 program of studies for high schools is complete. There are no new courses this year. However, Mr. Scotto and his team made some revisions to the courses in terms of being clearer about what prerequisites are needed. Some of the course descriptions were tweaked. The document also contains more information about the various pathways a student can take during their his or her high school career. And these pathways kind of provide academic options for students in various subject areas. Mr. Scotto did review the draft of the course offerings with the middle school grade 8 counselors and child study team members because they would like to continue the effort of strengthening the transition process from 8th to 9th grade. Mr. Scotto also talked to us about the use of ESSER funds from the federal government for tutoring. And in the summer of 2022, 2,696 hours of tutoring was offered to students, most of it done in the elementary school, about 1,700 hours there. And then from the end of October this year to right now, there have been 681 hours of tutoring done with ESSER funds. You heard that kindergarten registration opens Monday, January 23rd. That link will go live at noon. All the information will be on the district website along with the links, and you'll be directed as to what you need in order to enroll. Ms. Ferlato and the high school scheduling vice principals will be participating in what is being called a secondary scheduling academy. The scheduling academy will give all 3 high schools an opportunity to work collaboratively with each other and other high schools from around the country to identify ways to improve high school scheduling. And one of the things that we're trying to do in this district is to make sure that courses in our 3 high schools run sort of on a same schedule, so that if, for example, we have like a leave of absence in chemistry and we can't find a chemistry sub, then one of the other chemistry teachers can Zoom or Google Meet their class for the missing person. That is CNI motion number 7. We need to approve that academy. Ms. Audino briefed the committee on the district's extended school year program. Many of you know it as ESY. The planning has begun and more information will be available in the next month or 2. Also for my colleagues, just a note on CNI item number 11, the funding for this professional services agreement with the Institute for Multisensory Education for Wilson School is coming out of Title I funds. And that's all I have, Mrs. Lombardo.
Thank you. Mr. Kanka, Facilities and Operations.
Good evening, everyone. The Finance and Operations Committee met on January 11th at 8:30 in the morning. I would like to thank Mrs. Harvey and Mr. Celentano for being there. Also, Dr. Ferrara stepped in as a CNI committee representative. I also like to thank the senior staff for their attendance and their comments in the meeting. A lot of the discussion that went on was discussed with Dr. Rocco in his report earlier. I just want to reiterate that the standards that were just put up on the board or up on the screen are still in the draft process right now. And they're still subject to some additional changes before the final draft is presented to the public. I would also like to thank Mr. Scotto for the presentation and his input at our meeting on the 11th. We discussed about Dr. Rocco, his organizational chart that was posted on board docs, and we also discussed the 23-24 calendar. Under our initiative items, it was It was basically the budget calendar on how the calendar was set up and how the step-by-step of the calendar takes place prior to the preliminary budget that's due to the Department of Ed by March 20th. And we will have a final public hearing on the budget April 26th. That calendar was posted on in the board docs library for people to see and watch the process as it takes place. We discussed some of the challenges for 2023 with the budget, with the significant growth in transportation costs and the anticipated growth in costs for next year. There was also a discussion about the increase in the state health benefits plan starting January 1st. And that increase has also made this district eligible for an adjustment in the budget cap due to those increases. We also discussed increases in tuition and service costs or service contracts, I'm sorry, and the ongoing enrollment growth. Then we moved on to food services. And the always the biggest conversation is the debt that we have incurred due to students not paying for their lunches or their meals. And there was an interesting comment that was brought up that the majority of the debt over $100,000 is from students that never had a previous debt. So there may be some confusion about whether free lunch or free breakfast is still on the books, but we're hoping that we can get this all straightened out and get it all cleared up before the end of the year. And I just want to reiterate again that breakfast and lunch is no longer free in the district. So I'm hoping that the parents or guardians for the children look into if they're eligible for the program. We still have the reduced lunch program in place. So just apply for the program, make sure you get everything filled out so we can get this negative balances under control. Letters and emails have been issued to parents with negative balances over $15 at this time. So let's just try to get this under control so we can move forward with this program, because it's a program where we make we get money that helps us upgrade all of our equipment in the kitchens, so the staff can work more efficiently, and the kids, the children can get a better lunch served. So then we moved on to, which was a big question for the past couple of weeks. My phone was ringing pretty heavily about the mobilization of the turf field, the starting of the turf field for Hamilton High School West. We were waiting on the soil conservation approval from the county. We received that approval on January 12th, which makes us eligible to begin the process, and mobilization has started. Equipment is moving in, and at this time, I spoke with a representative from Spiesel yesterday, because I was in a meeting with them for another issue. They feel that this project is going to be on time, so we're hoping that that comes to truth. There was also questions about, since the soil conservation took a certain period of time, that it was brought up to me that can we submit the soil conservation reports for the other two schools, Steinert and Nottingham, and get that process taken care of before the construction can begin over the summer, so these fields can be completed in the fall of 2023. And I was told that that is already being taken place. So we shouldn't have any so-called delays based on the soil conservation for the other two schools. So construction will take place on time when the time comes. We also spoke about boiler replacement at Yarville Heights School. The proposal for to prepare drawings for the building. We have a plan to submit the project for grant funding under ROD grant once the DOE opens the process, so we could submit for projects. And that was basically it for our committee. It was a short agenda. If anybody on the board has any questions, I'll see if I can answer them for you.
Dr. Rocco just has one correction.
Actually, just two items to clarify. First, you're right. With West, they actually started doing work. So there's actually work on the site, which is good news with that. So hopefully what they told you about ending on time will be good because they have two more fields to do for
That's
us.
correct.
The other item on the standards was from our meetings, just to clarify, the adjustments were made in the committee meetings, which then the finals were presented tonight to the community. And that's what will be the curriculum will be based on. Just wanted to clarify that for the public.
But it's still open for discussion.
Mr. Kanka, I think what it is the standards are now going, our comments have now given Mr. Scotto permission to put a curriculum committee together to write the curriculum.
Okay, well, we're still going to review it.
Yes, yeah,
Correct.
100%.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we just wanted to be clear that it was the curriculum now that is the next phase that we review. The standard reviews is done.
But each committee will still review
The curriculum,
final draft.
100%.
right, the curriculum though, not the standards. We're all done reviewing the standards. The standards are the standards and we already put that information in. So now the curriculum will be written and then it will be brought to the board and then we review and vote on the curriculum.
So the one thing that you're going to have to get that past Mrs. Harvey. I can tell you that right now.
We didn't vote on anything.
There's nothing to vote.
There's nothing to vote on. We don't vote on standards. Standards are the law. We vote on the curriculum, which is developed off the standards. And the next phase is for Mr. Scotto to put together a curriculum committee, which will include curriculum supervisor, Mr. Scotto, and teachers who volunteer to write the curriculum. Then the curriculum document comes to us. And this is the same process we use for every single curriculum. I mean, we've reviewed a ton of curriculums for art, for history, for everything. You will go through the curriculum, look at what is proposed to be taught, and then we vote on that curriculum.
So I'd like to request an executive session. I'm making a motion to go into executive session for legal advice. Well, I have a question, a legal question as to, because she's saying that the standard, we don't vote on the standard. And the standard is the law, but that's not what we've modified the standard.
Based on the comments of the interim commissioner of education from the original quote that Mr. Scotto put up at slide 4 or 5, I don't know what number it was, that said that those items, which he has indicated many of them, if not all of them, were in red and were struck out based on comments that were provided by the board and committee.
That was my legal question, which I asked counsel 2 weeks before our meeting, and I never got an answer. And I didn't know that we were just moving on. It was always addressed that we were going to.
Mrs. Harvey,
it.
I have
So-
said in my committee meeting minutes every month for almost 6 months that we don't vote on standards. I have been very clear with that.
But
Real
that's my
quick.
problem, is that the standard that came from the Board of Education, we've now deviated from. And you're saying that we don't vote on it because that comes down from the state, but that's not what came down from the state. What came down from the state is something that we didn't adopt.
So what the
We
state
didn't
said,
vote on.
We
no, what the
don't
state said is
adopt.
we did have a level of flexibility
Correct.
and we exercised some of that flexibility. So what we did was totally legal.
The memo says that we
Okay,
can
okay.
deviate as to parentheses, which is not where we deviated. And that was the specific question that I asked of Mr. Carrick prior to all of this to avoid this. And
Wait,
that's
what
why
do you
I'm
mean
now
we didn't?
requesting
That we deviated from the parentheses,
that the memo specifically talks about parentheses.
which is what we went through.
But no, as I pointed out in the committee meeting, so that we didn't have this, is that you have struck through things that are not in parentheses. And that is my concern. You want me to pull
So,
out the
so
number?
you, no, I know exactly which standard you're talking about. So that's the standard that you have a concern about.
There,
Well,
I
you can
believe
say
there's
what standard it
two.
is. It's not
I don't know
mine.
the number. The standard is, it's the one that addresses vaginal, oral and anal sex.
No, there's, well, that's one of them. Yes. And then the other standard, I believe, is 2.1.12 is not, actually, no, that one is.
Mr. Scotto, do you have a copy you can?
Right,
let
2.1.2
Mike see?
strikes out language that's not in parentheses. It's in a comma, including genitals, but that was not in parentheses. And then the other one was 2.1.5. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So are you,
2.1.8.
are you?
Wait a minute,
proposing-
didn't we all review these slides before we got here tonight?
Yes.
And my opposition was noted on Mr. Scotto's document. And so what I'm saying is that
But
I
before
believe,
tonight, we
that-
saw the slides that were going to be presented tonight.
right?
Did you bring that up?
Yes. That he sent another memo that told us all to read everyone else's comments, and my
No, not
comment
the
was
comments,
included
the
on
the
that.
slides that were going to be shown. Did you say why
Correct.
was this stricken out?
I raised my objection in the committee meeting as I was supposed to. And I also asked for legal advice whether or not we would be in compliance because they were not in parentheses, they were actually standards. So that is my concern.
I got you, but I'm wondering, the slides we all saw. Because I did have a question about one of the slides. I went back and said, slide number such and such, is this how it's going to be presented? And they said, yes. So when you looked at the slides, did you bring it up again and said, now it's being taken out? Why, when my questions were this, and this?
No, my understanding is that my objection was noted and I don't, the way that it's just moving on, I wanted to make it clear that that is not,
Do you know?
so, because I thought that the board voted on the standards and then it went to the committee. Because it's a deviation,
Still don't vote on the standards. They
even if it's a deviation from the required curriculum. Okay,
vote on the standards. We don't vote on the standards. We have provided them from the state. This is the first time that we're allowed the flexibility that Mr. Gonzalez has pointed out because of the new implementation, which gives us the ability to be flexible about it. Changing something that's outside of what would be flexible, ultimately, when you make the curriculum, that's where that change should come in. But we don't vote on the standards at any point. We don't. That's just not, they're inflicted upon us is the best way to say it, because they're the state standards and they're given to us. This is the first time we had the flexibility to work with them a little bit. So you're saying that we worked with them outside of the areas that we were willing to work, that we were
that
supposed
we
to
were
work.
permitted to.
When we go to
correct.
make the curriculum, we need to make that adjustment because right now we haven't enacted anything that goes into effect. We're talking about the steps to get to the effect. That makes sense. So the time to, if the time to change the standard, if we don't think that the standard is correct, is when you're developing the curriculum and address that issue, because this isn't the final product.
Okay.
But she's saying it was presented like it is the final, so now she wants.
And
to
my
correct it.
concern also is
fine.
that if you, that the manner in which the standard is implemented would be discriminatory and would not include certain information that should be included in the curriculum, because otherwise you are neglecting female needs.
So the standard starts the process to enact the curriculum. The ultimate curriculum that we enact should address that, if that's a concern. But the standard itself cannot be discriminatory. There's no action that's taken upon it until the curriculum's.
Ms. Harvey, also, just to clarify your concern, Mr. Scotto and I had a conversation earlier today, and I said, when this moves forward for curriculum writing, please share the comments from all the board members based on slide by slide, so that the people writing this understand the conversations that went about 18 times on this issue, so that when they develop this, they develop it in a way by majority in an effort to provide a document that our staff can teach where the majority of the board feels comfortable with. And I asked him to do that. So it's not as if it's, and I only say this, and this is for all 9 board members. So if you made a comment, your comment will be viewed by the committee. However, it has to fit within the standards, and they have to make it so that we can teach it. So your comments will be made, but it has to be a curriculum that the majority of the board has agreed upon. And obviously, as Mr. Kanka referenced in his report, each committee will see this curriculum before it comes for a vote. There will be a discussion. It's not as if we're saying tonight, hey, okay, we're done here. We're going to write the curriculum. We're going to put it in front of you 2 months, 3 months, 4 months down the road and say, vote on it. No, we've taken a deliberate process. The community has participated in that process over the course of 6 or 8 months. And we've done that with the board, and we'll continue to do that. But there will be an opportunity for the committee writers to read what was the conversation or the concern or the interest of particular board members based on a particular standard.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
But I think the misconception here is the standards we're not going to keep meeting on, but the curriculum, when it's written, we can meet on that and discuss it as many times as we want before it's implemented.
Absolutely.
Scott, the curriculum should.
That's what you guys are saying, right, Mr. Kanka?
Well, I think what Mrs. Harvey's trying to reiterate here is she had a concern that wasn't addressed. And the presentation was put on without this concern being addressed, in which she has presented this to the board attorney.
But it might have been addressed, but the majority didn't feel the same way, so
But it wasn't
it can't
addressed
be
to
changed
her.
by one person.
Correct.
They never
But-
answered your email,
but
is
I
that what you're
still-
saying?
No, he did not.
Well,
But my,
there's a good reason for that, and we'll tell you about it later. He had a very personal matter come up
Okay.
and was out of
okay.
anybody's communication for over a week or 2.
So I just thought that I would have the vote addressed, but because I thought there'd be a vote. So even though you're basically saying that we're just moving on with a consensus. And so I didn't understand that was the process.
I think
and
that's
that's
the
what.
process.
That is correct. We've said many times in committee and at the board meetings, there is no vote on the curriculum, right? So the
No, on
leeway.
the standards.
Standards, I'm sorry. We're all talking the same. There is no vote on the standards. Let me
They
clarify again.
understand this, that's
No
why
vote on the standards.
Okay.
Standards will produce a curriculum. That curriculum will come in front of the committees. There will be discussion among the committees. From there, it will be brought forth for a vote at a meeting.
Thank you.
This is the same, it's in parallel, the process that we would do with math or
Yes,
ELA. right?
correct.
Where we don't vote on the standards for all the
Correct.
subjects. We look at the curriculum committee sees it first, but we all vote on it. And I think it's just similar to that. And so as a board, in my opinion, when this curriculum's being developed over the next few months, we go back, we make sure that whatever we agreed upon in the standards is there. And if not, we bring up those concerns. And I think as a board, we can kind of get through this. So, it's a lot. There was a lot that we all looked at many times. And, I'll be honest, not all of my suggestions made it through.
Mine
But
either.
I don't think anyone's did. But I think that might be the sign of a healthy negotiation among different mindsets and different opinions. And I totally understand your legal process question as well. But I think we are moving along in a healthy way, in a way that's
But that legal
smart.
question should be, we'll make sure it gets addressed.
I-
and
I
We'll
just
take it back
emailed
with
you
Mike and Patrick.
what the state said about the flexibility we had, and I believe that we are within those bounds. So
Let's
it's a
do it.
pretty long memo, but you can read it.
That's what I'm looking at, flexibility. I do understand that, the standards are the standards. Once we agree that whatever can be taken out or adjusted is there, and apparently it's there. So next step is to get the curriculum. And my question is just what you just brought up, Mr. Gonzalez, the flexibility within the development of the curriculum. Is there room for, let me put it this way, paraphrasing an answer based on the standards? In other words, there may be something in there, as Mrs. Harvey brought up, that she may be looking at it being a verbatim statement. So can we deviate? Well, probably deviate's not the right word to move, to use.
Adapt.
Yeah, yeah. In other words, it's heading in the right direction, but it
mind
might
if-
be going,
Do you mind if I read an excerpt from the state real briefly, or is that kind of a waste of our time?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay. New Jersey Department of Ed does not review, approve, or actively endorse instructional materials such as lesson plans, textbooks, softwares, videos, or any other content area. Generally speaking, the state does not mandate curriculum. Material adoption is a local IEA decision based on the local curriculum development and review process. C, New Jersey AC 6A 8-3.1, all local adopted instructional materials should be aligned and directed to the curriculum and the New Jersey SLA and current medical accurate development, age appropriate and developmental and selected through thorough, meaningful, and ongoing consultation with the state community, including parents. To be clear, any report indicating that, oh, shucks. I think I might have read the wrong part. That was talking about adopting curriculum, adopting materials. Man, this thing's too long to read. Never mind. But essentially it says I could send it to Rocco and then he can send it to everybody. It has to be in line with the thought. And specifically parentheticals, we had flexibility, but I'm going to send it to Rocco.
So I just want to be very clear. For 8 months, we've listened to the community, we've had meetings. We've had committee meetings, we've gone through a process. Everybody viewed the slides, we've had conversations, individual comments have been noted, group comments have been noted, the majority of the will of the board has been moved forward. The point now, Mr. Salantano, I understand your question, but what I would say is the point now is let the curriculum committee write curriculum. Then let's go back to the committees and allow the committees to look at it, make comment, see where we're at before it comes to the public. That was the point of tonight. The point of tonight was to say, the point of tonight was for us to say to the community that this board has heard the community, has done its due diligence, has worked, has spent time, has viewed it, and we are at a point now that this is what we're going forward to write the curriculum for review by the Board of Education to be put then in front of the Board of Education for approval. That's where we're at as a community.
When he says curriculum committee, he doesn't mean our curriculum committee. He means the administration curriculum
Yes,
committee.
correct.
And to answer Ms. Harvey, I agree. We're gonna have to get the legal answer to, can you just take something out that came down? And if not, then we have to put it in the curriculum and we'll make sure that you get your answer. And we'll
Right,
talk.
and
after.
there are more questions, but they've been preserved.
Huh?
There were more questions that flowed from that, but
Okay.
I have submitted them and we'll get the answer.
Yeah.
So the memo that Mr. Gonzalez referenced is in the December
I have
12th.
it.
Okay, well,
And
I
I've
don't
read
know, it's in board docs.
Yeah, no, I have.
The other thing,
memo.
Mr.
I-
Celentano, remember, we have an opt-out provision. So people can opt out, that's flexibility. And I remind you all that abstinence is required to be taught by law.
It's a good point. At what age, though? Do we have an age or just in general? So I'm thinking.
Okay, we're gonna move on from here and we'll
Yeah, yeah.
just,
We don't have to spend any more time on it, but I think we need to,
I would have
That
to go
should be
back and look at the
taught every
document.
age, I
whenever.
guess. Go ahead, Mr. Kanka.
I just want to thank the entire board for the time that they put in and this discussion that we had tonight and some clarifications that were made up. And I would also like to thank Mrs. Harvey. When we did have our committee meetings, she was a staunch advocate for this particularly the standards. And a lot of the questions that she brought up, I didn't see, but she saw, and that's why we work together good as a group. When other people bring in other ideas that not everybody can see. So she was really a good asset to this board and this committee for bringing this forward to the
Oh, I
entire
agree.
board and the community. And as far as negotiations, I have nothing. And that concludes my report.
No negotiations.
Your report was over.
Does anybody have any construction questions?
Can we move on to the HR report, please?
Thank you. So Personnel Committee met on January 11th. The committee consists of Ms. Lombardo, Mr. Gonzalez, and myself. Mr. Gonzalez, welcome. We're looking forward to working with you. Dr. Rocco spoke to us in regards to communications, the 2023-24 calendar. We discussed an update on that, an organizational chart. And we also discussed, as my other committee chairs talked about, we discussed the curriculum and instruction, the health and PE standards. Mr. Scotto and Dr. Farrar joined us. So thank you very much for that. We went over that. Dr. Altabello spoke about kindergarten registration. Ms. Atwood talked about the budget calendar. And Ms. Ferlato discussed the master schedule. Under personnel items, we did have a shorter agenda this month, but we did discuss the vacancies that we have in our district in regards to staffing. We will be moving forward on a monthly basis and be including in our personnel initiatives a list of all vacancies that we have. As everyone is aware, it is an ongoing effort to make sure that we do our very best to fill all the positions. It's just a challenge. I do want to thank a lot of our teachers and staff that have picked up additional periods to cover right now, because we are doing our very best to make sure that all classes are covered. So moving forward, we will continue to review all vacancies and discuss that. And I believe that is it for the Personnel Committee, unless I am forgetting something. Yes.
Question, Dina, and Richard, and Christina, remind me. Did we get a copy of the organizational chart? I don't think
Yes,
we
it's in
seen
the
one.
library.
Oh, it's in the library, but we didn't get it that day to talk about it. Okay.
But it's actually being edited because Dr. Rocco and I had a big
Well,
long,
Let's take a look at it because.
a
first
long
of all,
talk about it. I asked them to,
normally approve an organizational chart at a reorg meeting, but that was,
We did, but we did have a title change and we are adjusting
Okay.
it per the board president's request.
I just don't remember talking about it.
I had asked for each department to be broken down even further for individual supervisors and break it all the way down from the director. So we'll still see a more
Get the symbols. out,
accurate look of the
box symbol.
district.
Are we questioning that chart now?
No,
No, I
Okay.
just don't remember.
Because
us
I have
talking
a few
about it.
questions.
it's
that I'd
not
like to
done.
bring
It was in
forward.
draft, and after our conversation
Okay.
today,
That chart, based on the conversation that the board president and I had, is not an accurate chart at this
Okay.
point.
and we have a change tonight.
So
We're gonna be having a new director added and et cetera. So we have
do
to change it.
do we
I
pose
think.
our questions to the superintendent or to the president
Once it's up.
about the chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a
We'll probably just
question
go
about
through
the Personnel Committee minutes?
And then we'll go. to committee.
You had talked about the vacancies
Mhm.
and it says, just for example, Alexander fully staffed, but then it has another column, special ed BD. What does that mean? It's not really fully staffed then, right?
Mhm.
General ed, and then we have special ed.
Okay, so that's why it's its own column.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a, for Ms. Thornton,
Yes.
the retirements, that's all.
Yes.
Yeah, we do that during the motion when
I
we are
will
ready to
absolutely.
vote.
Okay.
If not, Ms. Klonick will come up here and smack one of us.
We're
But
gonna
once
that,
we
'cause
do
I
the
know-
motions,
I know Mrs. Kelly used to do it.
yeah, Dina's gonna do them.
Yes, and I
Mhm.
did tell Ms.
We're gonna do
Kelly.
it during the motion presentation.
That's when we always do them.
Okay,
Hmm.
just a reminder.
Right before we vote on them, she'll
Very
read them
good.
out. Don't worry.
Right
Just
before they retire.
right after Dr. McShane reads all the grants. We got this all
Well,
under,
that's-
under. We got the routine down here.
I know one of them
Okay.
and she'll beat me up.
Okay, yep, we got it.
I do have something for DCR. if That's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's
Wait, Miss, are you done, Ms. Thorne? Okay,
Great.
go ahead.
Yeah, so DCR, the District Community Relations Committee, did not meet in December because of the holiday season and everyone's schedules are really busy. We have the slightly unfortunate fortune of having our meetings typically the day after our public board meeting, so it's hard to give a full recap of the meeting that's going to happen tomorrow. But there's some great news. The DCR has been really talking about and thinking about how to more creatively engage with the community as a whole. And to that end, they've had a great, from what I hear, they had a great discussion. The DCR chair, Amanda Asquith, and other subgroup leaders had a great meeting with the districts last week, I think. And it sounds like there's some exciting things happening. So they have not had the chance to go back to the DCR group as a larger group because that is happening tomorrow. And so if you're interested in learning how to engage with the community as part of the DCR, we have our first in-person meeting in years at Wilson tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I'll be there. All the cool kids will be there. And so come hang out, learn about how we can hopefully get more engaged with the community there. And then in February, I will give you a full recap of the meeting I'm having tomorrow. And I'm just going to do it from memory because that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we're gonna move on to the monthly suspension report. I had one thing about that, Doctor, I'm drew a blank. I looked at the one that's like all of them together. There's two elementary schools that are 0 from last year and this year. All of us at least had one. That's possible to have 0, 0? Like, it's just, I know where the schools are and I could see that happening, but
Yes, it is possible. We would hope that there would be more schools that
Yeah.
had 0.
okay.
But it is possible, but I can certainly follow up directly with both of those schools just to ensure that we.
No, I'm glad that's true, but it's just not one incident all year.
Not one incident that resulted in a
Suspension.
suspension. Yeah,
Okay. That's what so it's not just an incident, it's just a suspension period.
correct. This is just simply reporting to the board anything
that's
that
good since it's
results in
elementary
in-school or out-of-school suspension.
I
Okay.
think it also speaks to the fact that we've been using restorative practices now for, let's see, I've been on the board for 7 years, so we've been using restorative practices for at least 5 years.
Oh,
now.
no, there's suspensions in elementary school.
Well,
It's just
I understand that, but I
two
think,
particular schools.
right, but I
already.
think the interventions that we're using to address behavior instead of suspending kids is working.
And I think this year helped because I think the first year they came back after COVID, we probably had a record number of suspensions. So, okay. Does anybody else have anything on the suspension report?
Nope.
HIB report? Health report? Seeing none, hearing of the public on agenda items. Do we have anybody signed up for that?
Pages.
Okay, this is on agenda items only. So just make sure we stick with the agenda items and we'll go first with Hannah Lankowski.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Hannah Lankowski. I am a Hamilton resident as well as a Hamilton School District former student. And I'm now substituting in the district as well. So very invested in the lives of the kids here. I just wanted to first thank you guys for keeping and recognizing important parts of the curriculum in regards to the health curriculum, such as physical well-being, mental well-being, all that good stuff. I'm very, very appreciative of that. Gender and LGBTQ inclusion, I really appreciate that. But I do have a couple of concerns. I'll never forget when I was in middle school, 6th grade, Grice, I went to Grice. My health teacher had told me that, or our entire class, that in her time at Grice, she had seen more than a dozen young women leave school mid-year because they were pregnant. And I was in 6th grade and I did not know how that would even happen. I did not know that you could be pregnant at the age of 10 or 11 or 12. And I was very horrified. I was terrified. Now, I want to say that a lot of the times in middle school, we think that these kids are too young to be sexually active, but in this district, it is true that a lot of them are already. And for that reason, it is far too late. 8th grade is far too late to be teaching these standards about sexual health and well-being. By that point, many students will already be sexually active and they will be doing it unsafely because they will not have gotten the proper education. Yeah. I don't want to see any more of these young women have to leave school in the middle of their most formative years in order to either give birth to a baby or give the baby up for adoption. It's just far too young at that point, and they should be in school. They should be having healthy sexual relationships instead of unsafe ones. That leads me to my next point. I was wondering about your high school standards, about the red line that you had through the names of the effective contraception methods. I saw abstinence, condoms, emergency contraceptive, and I want to take a second to think about high schoolers and the terminology that they should be using as adults, young people in the real world. Specifically, even high school seniors by that point are legal adults who are voting and, who have a lot of privileges. They should be able to be using these smart adult language choices like the word condom. That should not be censored from the school environment. I think that it's important to be talking maturely about these topics. And I don't understand how children are expected to go to, let's say, CVS and ask for a box of condoms if they don't know what they're called, right? Or to talk about in a safe and healthy way in class about ways to prevent STDs and pregnancies if they don't know the names of these contraceptives. I understand we can say that there are ways to have safe sex, but you need to be teaching these explicitly by that age. So I just wanted to go back to something Dr. Rocco said earlier. We're trying to prepare these kids for life after high school, but also life during high school and during elementary and middle school. And the reality is that a lot of our kids are sexually active, and if they're not given the right guidance, it can be very dangerous. So I need you to rethink what you guys have proposed and just kind of meditate on that. Thank you for hearing me speak.
Thank you. Mark Byrne.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to read what the dictionary says about education. Just if we can always keep that first and foremost in our mind as elected members of the board. Education is the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially at school or university.
It's also an enlightening experience. And what does enlightening mean? An enlightening or uplifting so as to encourage intellectual or moral improvement. The painting in the church served as an edifying purpose even for those who could not read. So think about, well, first off, I want to say, if these standards are given to us by 12 or 13 unelected appointed individuals from one person, that gives one person in this state a whole lot of power to tell everybody else in the state what they can and, can't do. So in my opinion, and as a taxpayer, you don't have to accept any of these standards. These are just recommendations. If I understood you correctly, they're just something we're supposed to interpret and implement as it's and dissect as you need. I believe everyone should be treated with kindness and respect. But the one thing, probably the most, in my opinion, the most horrific thing in this is when I saw you listing contraception, and one of the forms of contraception was abortion, and that took precedence over adoption. To me, as a father of 9 children, and if you're teaching children that abortion is a form of birth control, that's obscene, and it offends so many people in this community. So I would say that as board members, think about that. You're taking orders from really one person that elects or selects 13 people of the state board, and they give you this mandate, so to speak, and you folks here are elected. Those folks weren't. So I plead with you to, in my opinion, the most abhorring thing is teaching children that abortion is a form of birth control. It's sad. And Mother Teresa, God rest her soul, she was a 1979 World Nobel Peace Prize recipient. Mother Teresa said, any country that accepts abortion as not any country that accepts abortion is not teaching its people to love, but to use violence to get what it wants. And I believe in your heart of hearts, even those poor women in this room, you may have known somebody, you may have had an abortion. I don't blame you. I blame society. Society has made abortion a form of birth control. And I believe that has made our country more violent. Look at, children today, they can go out and murder school members because they become their own God. They become dictators of what they think is right. There is right and wrong. So I ask you to search your heart of hearts, and I believe in your heart of hearts, your heart of hearts, that abortion's wrong. Just like it's in slavery and with slavery. In the heart of hearts of those Southerners, they knew slavery was wrong, but they, for their selfish purposes, they wanted it. Thank you.
Thank you. We gotta get our old timer back on this computer. It's crazy. I know, it's just. The other one, stop and start, was easier. Lisa Lankowski.
Good evening. Lisa Lankowski, Hamilton resident, mom of a Hamilton student. I appreciate that the presentation about the curriculum this evening. It was hard to read and hard to see. I tried to look on the board documents. It says presentation and the presentation's not there. So I'm not quite sure where it's going to be, or maybe it hasn't been loaded yet. But it was not there, and neither was the presentation from last month. But I just wanted to read something quickly. The average that kids first reported being exposed to online pornography was the age of 12, according to a new Common Sense Media survey of more than 1,300 teens ages 13 to 17. 15% first saw porn when they were 10 years old or younger, according to the report. Quote, most parents probably think, well, that's not my kid, but the numbers are overwhelming. So it's probably your kid. And that is according to Common Sense Media founder and CEO. This is an incredibly important public health and sexual health issue that's literally being buried by parents, by educators, and by all of us. About 41% of the respondents reported seeing online pornography during the school day, including 31% who said that they viewed it while attending school in person. We should be having these discussions, all of it, as much as possible before they are teenagers and before they have a cell phone, according to Common Sense Media. Because don't forget, all these kids, they now have this. So us trying not to teach different words and different things and trying to shelter them and trying to keep all this information from them, they have it, but they're getting it in not great ways. And it's much better for us to educate them about things properly because they're going to learn about it one way or the other. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Katie Gaffrey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Gaffney. I'm a longtime Hamilton resident, a graduate of Steiner High School, a queer person, and a registered dietitian. I've spent the last 5 years working with adolescents and adults with eating disorders and other mental health concerns. Recognizing that the matter of the standards is not up for debate and discussion, it saddens me that the Hamilton School District has not yet adapted the 2020 New Jersey Student Learning Standards. And I fear that the resulting curriculum may have the potential to open our community to hate and misinformation. There have been pushback against words like gender identity and gender expression, and there have been multiple genders for hundreds of years. We ignore that when we stay rigid, dig our heels in, and stick with doing things a certain way because we've always done it that way. In my professional clinical experience, people, especially youth, do better when they feel comfortable enough to be their authentic selves, both emotionally and physically. Research shows again and again that queer kids' mental health can really suffer not because of who they are, but because of the stigma they face. Not updating the health curriculum standards to include real-world examples of setting clear boundaries, whether with friends, families, or romantic partners, sends a clear message that Hamilton is not ready to support the true needs of their students. The words we use matter, whether it's in education or in healthcare. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. John Fitch. For sure.
Hello, I'm John Fisher. Sorry, I've been bad handwriting. I'm a parent of 2 children in the district, kindergarten and 2nd grade. I want to thank some of the ladies prior who frankly better said some of the things I wrote down here, so I'll be short. But I recognize that, you know, you've got a hard job here, and there was that kind of public interaction that you had about the changes to the standards and everything, and I understand that there were many meetings that were had over the course of the last year or so. But for those of us in the audience who watched the presentation and saw one slide that said, this is how you're allowed to change things, and then saw the slides where you changed things, like, I mean, we didn't talk about it, but I also saw that after one presentation. So I understand that there was some concern and that, you know, maybe certain concerns weren't brought to light enough, or maybe they were, I don't know, that's all of your business, but like, if we can see it in one presentation, everyone here should have seen it in however many meetings you had. Like, it's not better that this was brought up and then nobody said anything. And I also recognize Dr. Ferrara and Mr. Gonzalez, they spoke about why this exception seems to make sense. But as far, I don't know all of your careers. I know there's one lawyer up here definitely, and I know he didn't say it's fine. Like, I noticed that too. It's clearly said parenthetical, and as was pointed out, some of the things that were struck out were not. They weren't examples of things. They were things that were there. So, and then it was stated, well, we don't vote on the standards. They're the law. Okay, that makes sense. But you changed them without a vote and said the majority agreed to it. But if there was no vote, how do you know? Like, that's worse. That's not better. If something's the law that you have to follow, and then you say, oh, well, we just changed it and we all kind of agreed behind the scenes that it's fine, that doesn't matter. It's either the law or it's not. And maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not an expert here, but it really strikes me that, you know, in a presentation you gave to all of us, it seems like a pretty clear interpretation that some of the things that were changed are not okay based on what was presented. Again, I wasn't in those meetings. Obviously you all were, but it seems weird to me that one person noticed and nobody else did. And again, the one person who's here to kind of interpret things legally didn't say, oh no, it's fine. That I didn't hear those words. Anyway, one thing to note with the state standards, I have a minute left. It's fine. I won't take that long. The state presented those standards with grade spans. And there were certain things that were put in there by certain grades because the state is recognizing a certain fact. A pound of prevention is, or sorry, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I was out there in the audience. I looked up the county by county high school birth rate. Okay. Every county in New Jersey. Mercer County is in the top 3 highest birth rates amongst high school students. If the first time you bring up actual preventative care to prevent pregnancy is by grade 12, you have prevented 0 high school pregnancies. They've already happened by that point. You know, clutching our pearls over the realities of the world does not actually change the realities of the world. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that closes that portion of our meeting. Next, we'll have curriculum instruction. If you could, Dr. Farrar, if you can move those items.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move curriculum and instruction items number 1 through 11.
Second.
I have a question.
Not yet. Yeah, do you?
I will second.
Jason.
Okay, is there any questions or go ahead?
I have a
Ms. Byrd?
question. Yes. For number 9, the gift donations to Robinson. There's $1,000 gift and it just lists books, but there's no literature. There's no list of the books or the authors. Does anyone know about that?
Those books have not been purchased. It's $1,000 so that they can buy take-home books at various grade levels. So what typically happens, and Mr. Scotto can correct me on this, but what they'll do is they'll have leveled readers and they'll go into big Ziploc bags and the kids will take them home so they can read with their families. You may have seen that when your children were younger, they would get those. They're a level A, a level B, a level C. So they haven't bought them yet, but basically it's to supplement the school, the classroom libraries, so the kids can take books home to read.
Will the board get the list of the books? Can we?
We typically do not. They're the regular classroom books.
But if we request them, can we?
Yeah, I mean,
These are books that the kids select to take home. These are not books for instruction.
Right.
So the grant allows children that may not have robust libraries at home
to have books. So usually the elementary schools, the children work with their families on what books they would want to select. These are not core instructional materials that we would be using for primary instruction.
Since Mrs. Byrne is new, my understanding, and you can correct me, is that the books that are purchased pursuant to the policy for resource materials. So it gets signed off by the principal of each of the school for Robinson here, which then gets approved. by
If
the
it's a
superintendent.
library book, but this is a grant for books that are going to go towards kids to take home, correct?
Yes, I'll just read the description. Each student will receive a book at their individual reading level and interest topic to take home and add to their home library.
I guess she's wondering, how do they pick these books?
The children and their families select the book. They're not,
So they take a list home, them and their parent pick it, and that's the book that gets purchased? Does the teacher pick it? Do they
No.
pick it in class?
the family picks the book.
Oh, the family picks
They
it.
might want the Bible. You never know.
So it's picked by the family. Is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah,
Is it-
the way it was presented, it looked like there was books that were just being presented to the library. I didn't know where they were coming from.
No, it's actually a monetary donation that it's through a grant, which allows the students in that school to go on to the Smart Book Project. There's a link right there. And that is the organization. So really, it's not necessarily to add to the libraries in the schools. It is to give kids access to books that they are interested in reading, that are at their reading level. Often they have an opportunity to select it with their families. It is not for instruction.
So if you go on the link that's on there on the attachment, the parents can request the book. And I'm just looking at it now. They have a form to fill out for the parent.
Check this out.
Thank you.
Right. Is anybody else anything on curriculum instruction? Dr.
I'll
McShane?
just roll through the gifts and donations. And this is item number 9, the same one that Ms. Byrne brought up. So on that list is, oops, I just lost it. Here we go. On that list is the donation from the Book Smart project that Ms. Brown brought up to Robinson Elementary School. That's $1,000 worth of take-home books at different reading levels. We have a donation or grant from Donors Choose to the value of about $770 for the robotics team at East. One I'm curious about for a particular member in the audience, I don't know if she's here tonight. I see a grant from the donation from the One Project for winter weather items. And I'm not sure if that's clothing or if it's a lot of shovels.
Yeah, no, it's
Do we know?
clothing. It's clothing.
It's clothing.
clothes,
Okay.
yeah.
It wasn't very clear, but so that could probably a lot of shovels.
The facilities department might like
Yeah,
that
right.
everybody's out shoveling, but
And then we have 2 great donations, one from the Hamilton Education Foundation and one from the HTAA for cross nets. And these, I believe they're like a set of basically 2 volleyball nets that intersect and creates kind of like a 4 square for volleyball. It's kind of cool. And those are $1,035 each. And that's it.
now the cross nets here, it says there's the first annual HTSD CrossNet tournament. Can you talk about that?
No,
Okay,
I can't. I will talk about it at another meeting
all right,
coming up soon.
okay,
It's a surprise, but the surprise is
Okay.
kind of out of the bag.
sorry.
It's all right.
Is there any other
Are you
questions
going to be the coach?
on those?
He's playing.
No.
Any other questions on those? Ms. Atwood?
Ms. Byrne?
Now's when your vote.
Oh, it's roll call. Yes.
Well, so
Oh, do I have any?
ones you have written
questions?
down.
I'm sorry.
Those are the ones you have written down.
Oh, okay. So I have to abstain from H1.
No, no.
Aren't
She-
I thought it was on
That was my fault.
Okay,
You're
I don't
good.
think we're on that yet.
I apologize. That's so much. I'm trying to help her and I messed her up.
No abstention.
Nope,
No.
she's good.
No abstention.
Mr. Salantano.
Sorry, you knew what you were doing.
This is 1 to 11, am I correct?
Yes.
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 Dr. Farrar,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Harvey,
I am voting yes on G1 through 2 and G4 through 11, and I am voting no on G3.
Mr. Kanka,
Yes.
Dr. McSheen,
Yes, but abstain on G3.
Ms. Thornton,
Yes.
Ms. Lombardo.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Mr. Kanka, can you bring us through finance and operations?
As per recommendations, of superintendent, I move finance and operations motions 1 through 12.
Second.
Any questions?
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Byrne,
Abstain H1, abstain H number 10, bills list 1, page 17, PO number 2306456, abstain H12.
Nicely done.
230.
It's her name
Okay,
on that list.
got it. Mr. Salantano,
Nicely done.
Yes.
Dr. Farrar.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Kanka,
Yes.
Dr. McSheen,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes on all, abstain on motion 10, page 31, line items 7 through 14.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
So Ms. Thornton?
Yes. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move personnel items 1 through 13.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or comments about those? Ms. Atwood?
Ms. Byrne.
No, wait, I'm sorry. I do have a
Oh,
comment.
sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to make a notation, motion number 10 for our retirements. We have 3 retirements. We have Miss Tracy Quinn from Hamilton High East, 25 years in Hamilton Township. Michelle Gigliotti from Greenwood Elementary, 36 years in Hamilton, and Allison Setzer from Nottingham High School, 28 years. We wish you all the best. Thank you so much for all you have done for Hamilton. Thank you.
Mrs. Lombardo, I just want to say, I have know Ms. Quinn because I've been invited. She teaches gallery at Steiner. And she's really an amazing teacher because she always stays right in the middle. And she's a good listener. Her students adore her. I know Mr. Scales had her as a teacher. And Ms. Gigliotti used to teach kindergarten at Greenwood. She moved to basic skills this year. And she and I connected because her son was in my English 101 class. So they're big losses, but they're both going in different directions. And I wish them nothing but the best.
Did you have something, Mr. Kanka? Okay. Ms. Atwood?
Ms. Byrne.
You voting?
Can we just vote?
No.
Personnel.
This is personnel.
Personnel.
Yes, 1 to 6. No on item number 7B1. And yes, 8 to 13.
Mr. Salantano,
Yes, exception number 7, item 7B1, no.
Dr. Farrar,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Kanka,
Yes.
Dr. McSheen,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes on all, but on motion 1, A7, abstain. Motion 2, A41, abstain. And motion 7B1, no.
Ms. Lombardo,
Yes on everything, but no on 7B1.
motion's passed.
Does anybody have any other business to discuss?
I do. Anybody else? Do you want me to go ahead?
I do as well. You can go first.
Okay, no, go first because I'm kind of a wrap up. Go on.
Okay. There's a recurring theme at some of the board meetings, and also some of the community members talking about, for example, I was in Staples this week and one of the students from Steinert talking to me about the bathroom situation. And I'm just wondering how this could be addressed going forward. If there's a possibility that we can actually open up some more of the bathrooms, maybe even consider getting some, the student actually suggested to me if there was an actual aide, retired aides or retired police officers in the bathrooms, because the students are just spending a lot of time in the bathrooms, and this seems to be an ongoing situation. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board.
Sure. Dr. Altabello and I will talk with Mr. Rogers about that, and we'll talk to him, place a phone call tomorrow or the next day. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
I have a district history update. For those of you who are just recently attending, I have kind of become the de facto historian here. And right before winter break, a reporter started calling around the township, the school district, and the Hamilton Public Library with two questions. Was McGalliard Elementary School named after William McGalliard? And two, did William McGalliard start the first Christmas tree farm in the United States? Now, the answer to the first question was easy. McGalliard School, which is on Arena Drive, is named after William McGalliard and Edward McGalliard. They were brothers. And Edward served on the school board for 12 years. William, the older brother, lived on White Horse Avenue, and his house is Kingston Kemp Funeral Home. Elmer Kemp purchased the McGalliard house in 1948. So now put yourself on White Horse Avenue, kind of at that corner of Arena Drive as I go through this. The decision to name the elementary school after the McGalliard brothers occurred at an August 1951 school board meeting. An article in the Trenton Evening Times noted that the two brothers had grown up on the homestead farm in Whitehorse, and that by 1951, members of the McGalliard family had resided in Hamilton for more than 150 years. And as an interesting side note, one of the board members voting to make McGalliard School was Albert Grice, who Grice Middle School is named after. From newspaper accounts, one can conclude that William McGalliard, the older brother, was a visionary and a mover and shaker. A story in the Sunday Times Advertiser published 8 days after his death, entitled Model Land Developer, mentioned that McGalliard practiced a different kind of land development. The article noted most land developers bought farms, laid out the lots, and then sold them. The article said William McGalliard lived among those he encouraged to buy and took personal interest in their welfare. He was known to visit his neighbors, the article said. McGalliard reportedly bought the first set of clothes for a child born on his tract he was developing, or he gave a family $5 for every male-born child. That's about $170 in today's dollars. And according to the article, McGalliard made 120 of those gifts. And he started that land development in 1903 under McGalliard's acre lots. He also developed a water system for his home buyers and neighbors. In a 1911 letter to the editor to the Trenton Times, McGalliard wrote that in 1907, he installed an artesian well. And today, McGalliard wrote, I am supplying water to 25 to 30 houses. William McGalliard was active in the Democratic Party. He bought and sold land in places like Princeton. He was the receiver of township taxes from 1897 to 1900. And according to his obituary in the Trenton Evening Times, he sat on the Mercer County Planning Commission from 1929 to 1931. But despite uncovering all that history, no one could seem to locate a primary source indicating that he had been the first Christmas tree farmer. According to a 1998 Township history book, he had noted that one of his Norway spruces was thriving on his sandy soil. And the story said he sold Christmas trees, but it was nothing solid. We had 6 people running this down. There were 4 people at the Hamilton Library. There was a New Jersey state librarian and me, and we could find no primary sources. There were no ads in newspapers. There was nothing in his obituary. The reporter who had been calling around filed a story on December 16th, and the evidence he cited came from the wonderful world of Christmas trees. So included in the news story was a quote from a spokesperson with the National Christmas Tree Association, Jill Sidebottom. So I emailed her and said, where's this coming from? And she sent me a bibliographic citation from the book that showed that William McGalliard's son, David, had written a letter to the American Christmas Tree Journal in 1960. I located the journal at North Carolina State University, which was much better than having to locate it at Dr. Rocco's favorite basketball team university, Duke. So I got a copy of the journal, and the way the letter was written, I realized that something had been written in the month before that kicked off David's frustration. And in fact, what they had written in August of 1960 is that the first Christmas tree farm had started in 1918 in Western Pennsylvania. So here's what David McGalliard wrote. In a friendly letter to the editor, D.C. McGalliard, Morris Plains, New Jersey, takes us to task for a misstatement of fact in the article, Background of the Movement, in the August 1960 number of the journal. There we state in the third paragraph, Christmas tree farming seems to have started in 1918 in Indiana County, Pennsylvania. Mr. McGalliard is a Christmas tree grower, an active member of the New Jersey Farm Forestry and Christmas Tree Growers Association, and has written us the following. In the spring of 1901, my father, the late William McGalliard, planted 25,000 Norwood spruce on our homestead farm in Mercer County, New Jersey, just outside of Trenton. These trees were obtained from Charles Black, a nurseryman in Hightstown, New Jersey, and were, I believe, imported from the Scandinavian countries. 20,000 of them were 8 to 14-inch transplants, and the remaining 5,000 were seedlings. Since I was 6 years of age at the time, the event naturally made quite an impression on me. It was my recollection that the trees came packed in moss in a large wooden piano shipping case. They were planted on 4-foot centers and cultivated as long as it was feasible to do so. The circumstances which induced my father to go into this venture were interesting. While I think that Mr. Black, the nurseryman, may have suggested the possibilities originally, the fact that we had a 10-acre gravelly field on which it had been impossible to grow a profitable farm crop had much to do with it. Noting that a Norway spruce hedge along the road in front of the farm grew as well on poor soil as on good, my father put 2 and 2 together and figured the Christmas trees might be a good gamble on the 10 acres, which had been such a problem. The excellent market in Trenton, only 4 or 5 miles away, was also no small factor. When the trees were ready for market in 1907 or 1908, as I recall, a price of $1 was established. The customer would make a selection in the field, and the tree would be sawed off for him to take along. Many customers preferred to tag their trees weeks in advance for delivery at Christmas. Delivery was made by loading 50 or more trees on a farm wagon drawn by a team of horses and driving the 4 or 5 miles to Trenton. The $1 price was maintained for many years thereafter. After the original crop was harvested, several other plantings were made by my father and later by my brother, and all Norway spruce, there being no demand for other varieties. So using the calculator, that $1 tree is $32 today. And I guess unless somebody unearths some letter saying that their father planted trees earlier, Hamilton can claim to be the site of the first Christmas Tree Farm. So there we have it. And it makes that motto for McGalliard School, McGalliard Proud, that much more important.
Tree farm, like.
Anybody else?
It's right on the corner of White Horse.
Okay, next we have the hearing of the public on school-related matters. Katie got Gaffrey.
It's gas.
I know. Thanks. So much easier.
Hi again, everyone.
Oh, thank you.
I'm here to comment on the LGBTQ books that have been either challenged or said they were going to be challenged, such as the book Genderqueer. And I'm here to read comments from my peers that have been submitted. So I'm using this time to elevate the voices of other people. A 2012 Steiner graduate said, "Representation is a key step in building understanding, and erasing folks with LGBTQ identities from our libraries just makes Hamilton Township a more unsafe and closed-minded place for all." Jerry W., a 1982 Hamilton West graduate, said, "It is important for the LGBTQ community and their families to have books that represent them. Children and youth have better self-esteem if they feel represented and affirmed. I graduated from Hamilton High West and currently a deacon, and hope that you will support books by LGBTQ authors." Ashley said, "Students from LGBTQ communities deserve representation the same way that non-queer students do." A Hamilton Township parent whose 2 children graduated from Nottingham High School said, "Books open us up to a better understanding of another person's view, one we may not have considered or understood. Books should never be banned. Information on every subject is important." A 2017 Steinert graduate said, "I have many people in my life who are either part of the LGBTQ community, and they have expressed how impactful it is to have books with characters similar to them. It has helped them feel more comfortable in who they are. As an educator, we always talk about books being windows and mirrors. It is so important for books to portray characters who are similar to you, but also characters who are different to you. Books can make individuals feel more represented and seen, and also give them insight to people who are different than them. Having books with LGBTQ representation helps prepare students for the real world where everyone is different. Whether LGBTQ books are included in libraries or not, there are people who are part of that community. Why erase them from literature and make the Hamilton community a less accepting place for them?" Abigail O., a 2016 Nottingham graduate, said, "Queer and diverse books have changed the way I have read and how I see the world. They made me fall in love with reading again and showed me the many different ways love permutates in the world around me. It's complicated and comes in many forms, and by attempting to hide it under the excuse of protecting kids, it's only going to harm them. How will queer students know that they're safe if the administration tries to discredit their existence and not acknowledge them in our libraries? By banning queer and diverse books, the Hamilton Township School Board only will be impeding students' rights to hear multiple views and encroaching on their rights to freedom of expression. It is the school board's obligation to protect our students and create a safe learning environment where they are permitted to express themselves and their truth. And this decision would expressly counter these aims. It is your responsibility to ensure that Hamilton students, like me, grow up prepared to face the world. Prepare our students. Protect queer and diverse books in our school district." Brianna said, "As a woman of the LGBTQ community, it is refreshing and uplifting to see people like myself represented in books. It's nice to feel included and recognized. After all, we're all human beings and deserve to be represented equally. Libraries should be able to have many books of different genres, different representations, languages, races, cultures, and ethnicities. There should never be a limit on who we choose to represent and who we choose not to. Thank you so much for your time."
Thank you. Lisa Lankowski.
I am back. Lisa Linkowski, Hamilton mom. I wanted to bring up, we started the meeting with the moment of silence for Brandon Gonzalez. And it was recommended by another parent in the district that perhaps our athletes could wear yellow ribbons in honor of Brandon. His story, for those that don't know, is pretty amazing. And he started his own foundation, and it's brandonstrong.org. And the money that's raised from it goes toward helping families that have sick children. And so we thought maybe somehow our athletes could wear, the colors are yellow for the shirts, or gray, yellow or gray ribbons, and do some kind of something in unison for, you know, in Brandon's memory, and at the same time, maybe raise money for his foundation. So that was what I wanted to bring up tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Janice Glonick.
I was under the impression that cursive writing was still in the curriculum. However, it's not in the second or third grade curriculum this year, and it really needs to be. I don't want to hear about texting and computers. What if the system goes down? How else are you going to communicate? There's 15 to 17 states in this country that have cursive writing mandatory for all their schools in the whole state. The Catholic schools do it all the time. All us past generations have cursive writing. Our kids will be running across this throughout their life. Plus, for class, they need to write compositions, stories, and answer questions on tests. Plus, they need a signature. If someone works for someone in a cursive state and if the person in the meeting decides to hurry up and write them a note on how to close the deal and you can't read it, guess what? Your job just got canned. Okay, you need it. Kids, I have run across, they get cards. And my chiropractor, his daughters were in middle school and high school, and their grandmother had the most exquisite cursive writing you ever seen. And she gave him a birthday card and wrote a message. And the one said to me, "I can't read what my grandmother wrote." How sad is that? That is a personal message to her. And now her grandmother's gone and she has this card and she can't read it. That's sad. And then these kids grow up, they may find past letters when their parents go, love letters to their father wrote to their mother. They won't be able to read it. There's historical documents that are written. Cursive writing needs to stay in the curriculum. There's a personality to writing. There's warmth, caring, and everybody has their own style. It's not like a cold text, which is like ripping a book out of a page out of a novel. And there's a personality to it. Just like somebody in the work could say, "Oh, my husband just sent me the most beautiful text for Valentine's Day." How do you know that he didn't hand his phone to his secretary and say, "Send my wife a nice note"?
Right? Giving all our secrets away.
I'm sorry.
Just exposed it.
So keeping cursive writing is really a necessity. The warmth, the caring, their own style. And whether you consider it a necessity or an enrichment, you can't lose. It has to stay. Second grade used to do it from January to June. And they started in January and they kept reinforcing it, and it needs to stay. Back in the days of the Pilgrims, when I taught, cursive writing was taught every single day for 181 days, and you were graded on it. And my kids were neatness, and they learned how to be proud of their signatures, which they needed to do, and they were always neat. In the fifth grade teacher said, "We can tell which kids came from you," because I was a fanatic on neatness and writing. And I do think cursive writing is another thing. It is personal. It is you. I mean, when I get Christmas cards or birthday cards, I like to guess from the signature. I guess this is from Joanne. No, maybe it's from Linda, just from the writing, because they all have their own style. So that needs to be put back in the curriculum and stay there. On a side note, the Buffalo Bills player that almost died, one of the commentators said something which I thought was really effective and really needed to be done. And he said that everybody should know how to do CPR. And we're doing all this health curriculum, changing the health curriculum. I really think high school, either 10th, 11th, or 12th grades, should teach how to do CPR. So in case you never can tell when something's going to happen, just like that, they needed within seconds, they needed CPR. And since it's now only 100 compressions per minute, you don't have to worry about mouth to mouth. But I really feel CPR should be taught in the health class in high school so that when these kids graduate, they know how to do it in case they need to do it. I had a friend whose son came home from school and found his father on the floor. I mean, luckily he knew. All right. So I think that is something that should be done.
We don't typically comment,
Thank you.
but Janice is an exception to the rule. You've been in my office before, you know, I have a giant whiteboard with a bunch of items that we
Yes.
focus on all the time. CPR and AED training for all staff is on there. For students, making sure we do CPR for our students also, training so that they have that. But it is also for, our effort will be to try and get 100% of our staff CPR and AED trained.
Yeah, that would be very,
So that's
very
on my
good, though.
whiteboard.
I
You've
think
been in
it's-
my office,
I
you know.
think it's
Okay,
in the
so
high
they said the
school
American
curriculum.
Heart Association has online courses for it
It's
too.
in our health
in our health
curriculum
curriculum.
already.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Very good point.
And we have Dawn Minton.
Hi, Dawn Mitten, 119 Gary Drive. I do also want to try to make sure that we always remember when people come up to give their addresses. Earlier in the night, we had some people that were not from Hamilton. I totally agree with the cursive writing. My nieces and nephews can't read my writing. My family can't read my writing, but that's just because I'm sloppy. The other thing, I have to commend you guys because when we've tried to sign online, last month we had a problem. And you guys were so quick to send a note to us from home saying, we're working on the problem. And it really caused a lot of people from being panicky. We really appreciate what you guys do and keeping all this going. But the problem that I have, I'm trying, each time I try the web link that is put up on from the board, we're not able to access it. And so a lot of times people are all texting each other and saying, have you been able to access it? Have you been? And then sometimes people are sending like other links to get to it. So if there's a way that that could be looked into, like if we usually click on a Zoom link, it usually brings us to it, but it always comes up page not found. So then we're talking to other people, like Melissa or somebody else, and then they'll say, oh, try this link. And then we try another link. So
Excuse me, off the main page you're talking about?
yeah, yeah. And even if like when Hamilton Township puts theirs up, sometimes that's accurate. And then sometimes it's just click, cut and pasted. But other times it's about 20 minutes into it and like Megan Stanton, she'll send me a note. She'll say, well, try this one. And then I get in. And then that was the night that the audio wasn't working. And then you guys had put a note, we're working on the problem. So that was just something that is for future information. One other thing is I have, when my son was growing up, I printed out the pediatrics suggestions for when to have the talks with our kids. I knew my husband was not going to have the talk because his father didn't. And so I printed out things based on their age group, when you should talk to them about puberty, when you should talk about showering, deodorant. Each time as my son was getting older and older, the more angry and frustrated he was getting that my husband and I were having these conversations with him. And he would say, we talk about this in school. We talk about this in school. And I was like, okay, but I said, there's still certain things that we need as responsible parents to talk to you about. Then he was really starting to get really like, I'm not comfortable having this conversation with you. I just found out he's almost 24. I just found out that his first sex ed class was senior year of high school. He said by the time he was a senior in high school and he had an official sex ed class, he said half of anybody that he knew had lost their virginity in one way or another. He said by senior year, he said it is well past. And he said, and so I said, then all those times I was talking to you and you said you're learning it at school. I said, you were not. He said, correct. So that's the other thing is when your kids are telling you stuff, they're not telling you the truth until 10 years after. And then they think, oh, okay, I can tell mom the real stories. So let's just keep in mind that, I don't want to sit here. I don't want graphs on how to do certain things, but we really need to keep our kids they're learning so much more than we ever did. So thank you very much and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain?
Yeah.
Passes.